Hi, welcome to Taji's World of Books and welcome to another book recommendation video. Hey you guys, so if you noticed, I have no idea what I'm going to call this video. I think it's going to be dark romance recommendation, but do I even need to say dark? Because that's why you guys are here. Everything I'm reviewing is all dark all the time. So it's going to be more books, recommendation video. I don't know, we'll see. So let's talk about the books. I'm going to film them in some clips like I always do because it's easier for me. I did something different with my hair and I'm not sure if I really like what's going on here, but whatever. I'm going to film it in clips and because I like to get it to you fresh off the press, and so that's going to be better for me. So let's do this. Okay, so the first book that I want to talk about, this is T.L. Swan's Play Along. And this is another captor-captive situation. So you're going to need to check out the trigger warnings. Although it's not, again, I have said my moral compass is a little bit off in bookland. So for dark romances as they are, this is on the tamer side of dark romances. So let me say that. This story is about Rochelle and Mac. And the scene starts off with, or the book starts off with Rochelle going to a club, and it's clear that she's staking out someone. And she sees them across the dance floor, and her eyes narrow on them, and she sees them in this passionate embrace, and it's very clear to the reader that this is her best friend and her boyfriend. And she is pissed because these bastards are cheating on her, and her best friend is also her roommate, and so she's starting to put together everything that's happening, all the whispered looks, all the jealous comments, like all the things that have been going on that she sort of overlooked in the past now is like coming together and making sense, and she's furious. And I'm not giving any spoilers, this happens in like page 2. So she's like, I can't believe them, I'm gonna confront them. And then she's like, you know what, I'm not gonna confront them. But things happen and she storms out of the club and she is bawling and upset and just really frustrated. And as she storms out of the club, she realizes that she has stumbled upon a situation where there are guns and men and murder. And she tries to go back into the door that she has escaped from to escape her boyfriend and her cheating boyfriend and her cheating best friend, and it's a fire escape and she can't get back in. And the story takes place from there, and it is a captor-captive situation, and this is like Russian Bratva meets FBI meets drug lords meets, you know, everything takes place on a naval ship. And so this is a very interesting tangled web that is really put together that strings this complicated story of heists and, you know, police ops, and it's a really fascinating story. And as it is developing, there is now what's really interesting is that you get to meet all the other characters that are on the ship. You get to hear their dynamics. You get to see the other girls. There is an interesting menage dynamic that's not about this couple, but it's another group on the ship, and I really wanted to hear more about that group and how those three came together, because you guys know I love a good menage. So I wanted to hear how those guys came together, but they're like secondary characters in the back, but it's still fascinating nonetheless. But this is a full story of Mac and Rochelle coming to be, you know, captor-captive, and what that evolves into, and is this Stockholm syndrome, and what this all means for them as a couple. Can they be a couple? Are they going to hold animosity? Do they trust each other? And everybody is on the run, and everybody is tricking everybody, and everybody is trying to steal and get over on, you know, different characters. And so it is a really, really tangled, curvy, winding story that I absolutely loved. By the end, you're riveted, you're on the edge of your seat, you can't believe what's happening, you want to see it all come together. The epilogue absolutely did it for me and brought everything that I wanted. And so given my proclivity towards really heavy dark stuff. This was like even though it is a dark romance and it is captive, it is a refreshing breath of air. It's really nice. It was like, it wasn't crazy angst, like it was angsty, but it wasn't just over the top. It was just a matter of, let's learn how to communicate, let's talk, let's figure it out, let's get it together. And so it was really well done. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. I would definitely recommend TL Swan and Play Along. I have several other TL Swan books on my radar that I want to get to. Some of them are very popular that you guys all know. We'll talk about them shortly, but that's it for Play Along. Okay, so then the next book that I want to talk about is Shame by Fiona Cole. And I go into most books blind. I have no idea what they're about. I hear them from BookTube, from TikTok, from Twitter. I get them from all over the place, and I get a snippet, a soundbite. I only want to hear a couple things, and if it sounds like it's something that I would like, I get it, or I put it on my TBR. And so that way, by the time I'm reading it, I'm so surprised. I'm like, how did I get this? Where did this come from? This book was amazing, and I absolutely fell in love with these characters in this book, Anna and Kevin. This is the story of, this is a dark romance. It is the story of Anna and Kevin who meet when they're 16 years old, and Anna's parents have divorced and they've left Tennessee and moved to Ohio. And she meets her next door neighbor, Kevin, and their families, and somehow the families have connected. The mom has connected with Kevin's parents, and it has become, you know, hey, come over, come hang out with us, and the kids can go upstairs and kind of hang out. And Kevin and Anna become best friends very quickly. And they all go to the same private school, so you get to see all the other characters, the kids that are in this school and in this friends group. And it is the story of two young people who discover independently. So Kevin learns and figures out that he has a dark proclivity towards wanting to dominate. He is into S&M. He's into S&M, and he wants to, but he doesn't really know what he's into. He just knows that he wants to control the scene. He wants to degrade. He's into degradation. He's into being very forceful, manhandling, treating a girl almost as though he's raping her, but he's not raping her. He's forcing her to do what she wants him, or what he wants her to do. Okay, so through a freak series of events, Anna learns that this is what she wants. She wants to be dominated. She wants to be manhandled. She wants to be pushed to the brink of almost rape and feeling like she's being raped without being raped. And both of them are dating other people, and it's really difficult because Kevin is so paranoid about people learning his secret that he makes a series of choices that alienates his relationship with Anna. And Anna, later on in the story, makes a series of choices that are very interesting. This book spans 10 years. It is an angsty-ridden story, because imagine at 16 years old and you realize that you have some severe kinks or some serious kinks, but you don't know anything about kink. You don't know anything about the BDSM scene. You don't know anything about alternative lifestyles. So you are filled with shame. You're filled with, I'm dirty, I'm wrong, this is evil, I don't want to degrade women, I respect women, I don't want to hurt anybody. What if somebody finds out? What if I get too rough with one of my partners and they tell everybody in the school, and my dad's a senator and he's going to find out? So there's so much shame, and trying to come to terms with who you are and what you like, and how do you do that in a safe way. And they even deal with like instances where, what do you do when play goes too far and somebody gets hurt? It's just such an interesting introduction into the world of alternative lifestyles and BDSM, and really looking at it from a 16-year-old perspective and then taking it all the way through adulthood. And one person wanting to be normal and not wanting to live this lifestyle and totally rejecting it, and the other person like, why can't you just accept that this is who we are, and why can't you just accept that this is who we have become? And it is glorious. I loved this book so much. It's so good. It's so angsty. It's so heartbreaking. It's so fulfilling. It's so wonderful. It just is beautiful. I loved it. I cannot gush enough. And this is the first book that I've ever read by Fiona Cole, and I'm so happy that I did it. I think that you should go and check it out. Now there is another, and this is on audiobook, so you can find that on audiobook. The novella is called Making It to the Altar. It is not on audiobook, so you'll have to get it on Kindle, or you can pick up the little audiobook, and it just is what happens after here. I'm not going to talk about it at all. It is wonderful. It's a nice like little touch to see what's been happening since then, and it is well worth it, and I would highly recommend. This series is a 5 out of 5 star. I think I'm going to put it on my top standalones for 2021. I really enjoyed it that much. And so we're going to go to the next clip and hear what other books I'm going to talk about this time. See you over there. And now I'm going to talk about Lila Pace's series. There's 3 books in the series. The first is Asking for It, the second is Begging for It, and the third book, Asking for More, I'll put up over here, is no longer in print, so I couldn't get it, but you can read it on Kindle Unlimited. Okay, it's not on Kindle. Is it on Kindle Unlimited? No, it's not on Kindle Unlimited, but it's on Kindle. You can get it there. Okay, so I'm going to talk about these books as a series, and this was a ride, let me tell you. So, in Asking for It, let me read you, because I want you to hear the warning, and there's a little bit of spoilers in here, but it tells you, and then I'm going to qualify it, okay? But not crazy. This book contains multiple explicit scenes that graphically simulate sexual assault, although every encounter between the hero and heroine is fully consensual. There is one flashback depicting a rape that took place long before the main narrative of the book, as well as a discussion of past non-consensual sexual encounters. The hero is not the perpetrator of any non-consensual sexual acts. Potential readers should be aware of the intensity of these scenes, and those who find such descriptions triggering or traumatic are advised not to read. This book these books talk about very delicate, sensitive subject matter, and the subject matter is rape. And it talks about kinks, and it talks about sexual fantasies, and it also talks about how rape victims handle the non-control that they experience by being sexually assaulted in different ways. Some people become very they become very internalized, and they have difficulty with sex, and they have difficulty with sexual experiences until they feel very comfortable, etc., etc. Other people take that power back and become very externalized and become very sexual, and they handle that in a different way. And in these particular books, this is about when a rape victim takes control of their sexual fantasies by fantasizing about being assaulted and want to act out that fantasy with sexual partners, and how sexual partners experience that and reciprocate that, and if they are able to, their partners are able to enact rape in sexual situations, and whether or not that is a taboo kink, if it's acceptable in relationships, and how people sort of handle and deal with that. And so this is very touchy and very a difficult subject matter, but the way that this author handles it, and the way that the hero and the heroine handle it in terms of being involved, the heroine is involved in therapy, talking through these experiences, talking through how this impacts her relationships, how it impacts her, how she recognizes that this is taboo, whether she shares this with friends or she doesn't share her fantasies of wanting to be raped and needing to gain sexual gratification from the experience of simulated rape acts. And so this is a heavy, heavy, heavy topic, but it was handled so well. And this is such a good read. And it is, you feel so much for the hero and heroine. And not to mention that you've got the overall sort of subject of this taboo subject of rape fantasies. Then you also have this history of rape that's being dealt with. Then you have two broken characters, and you've got family dynamics and finding one another and recognizing that you're broken, figuring out how to heal, respecting each other. And then this whole dynamic of I'm weak and you're powerful, but in this dynamic, I'm powerful and you're weak. And so we balance each other out in the way that we need to, in order for us to be healthy, in order for us to make this work. And can we even make this work given that we've started off in this way? And then there's this other component in this book where what do we do when there's an actual predator, a person who's stalking a city and actually assaulting victims, and how does that handle this play that we have between us? I can't speak highly. I was very skeptical about going into these books. I was really worried about going into these books because I didn't know how it was going to be handled. I didn't know what to expect because I go into everything relatively blind. And I have to say, it was so good. It was so good. I found myself falling completely in love with Jonah and Vivian in so many ways. I rooted for them in every aspect. It was just a wonderful ride, and I enjoyed it, and I loved it to the nth degree. It's so, so good. Now, I have to say that the last book, Asking for More, it's like a little novella. It's like 100 pages. I kind of felt like it wasn't really worth it. I was like, what was the point of that? I would have been fine with, at the end of Begging for It, if they added a little bit more in the end of this, and then I would have liked to see more of where things led, ultimately wound up with them. But, it is what it is. My imagination can take me in different places. But if you have not read this, I'm going to give this an overall 4.75 out of 5 stars. I'm going to say it's definitely worth the ride. You will be so pleasantly surprised, given the heavy nature of the subject matter, how this author chose to handle it, and how she involved therapy along the way, every step of the way. And not only were you dealing with those kind of subject matters, like everybody was very mature in these books, right? They were dealing with real life, not contrived issues. Like you had one person who was dealing with alcoholism. You had another person that was dealing with, trying to figure out what kind of graduate program to go in, because all of this takes place at the University of Texas at Austin. And so everybody is graduate students in higher education in different varying fields, from mathematics to art to, geology and studying seismographic type technology. So everybody is like professional and mature. And so their issues that come up are like real legit issues that come up between people, and how do we handle like being new parents, and what does that look like for different characters that are in the books. And so this was just a refreshing breath of fresh air considering the subject matter. Having said that, 4.75. If you haven't checked it out, go for it. It's absolutely worth it. And if you don't want to bother with the third, Asking for More, you're not going to miss anything. If you don't read it, it's really cool and great if you do, and you're like, oh yeah, I'm happy I did that, but it's not a necessary prerequisite. Okay, so then the last set of books, and I know that I had called this like dark romance, and this, I've been reading some heavy stuff, and so I said, you know what? I need to read something really light and refreshing and not so heavy and not so angsty. And so I went ahead and read the Thomas Elkins series. There's 3, and these are really like little novellas. They really are. The first book is Elements of Retrofit by N.R. Walker. The second book is Clarity of Lines, and then the third book is Sense of Place. And I gotta say, these were a refreshing breath of air. I absolutely love this entire series, and I'm gonna talk about the series as a whole. This is an age gap office romance. This is my best friend's dad. I always have to think about that dynamic. My best friend's dad. And it is an MM romance, okay? And so Thomas was married for 20 years to Ryan's mother and Sophia, and he decides when he turns 40, he'd known for quite some time, but he wanted to wait until his son Ryan was a little bit older. And so at 39 years of age, he basically told his wife Sophia, listen, I can't do this anymore. I am gay and I cannot continue to live a lie, and it's time for me to move on, and you need to move on as well. And he's a very renowned architect and has established his name in the world of architecture. Okay, so he meets Cooper, and Cooper is Ryan's best friend. Ryan is his son, Cooper is his best friend, and it so happens that Cooper is going to be interning at Thomas's firm. And so this whole series is about their relationship and them trying to figure it out. It is very low angst. It is very to the point. It is very refreshing. It is like, okay, we've got to navigate. In book one, we're navigating, are we going to do this? Like, are we going I am 22 years older than you. What is this going to look like? Are we going to do it? And once they establish that they're going to do it, Cooper is like, even though he's 22 years old, he is no nonsense. He is not playing games. He's like, I know what I want. I want you, and either we're doing this or we're not, but I'm not playing games with you. And so, you know, Thomas is more the one that has to like come to terms with stuff more so than Cooper does. So, and this is like, are we doing it? And then in this book, it's like, once they figure out that they are absolutely doing it, then it's like, how do we communicate that to the people, that the significant others in our lives, and they have to accept it. And there are some lines that are blurred, and there are some lines that are very clear and clear-cut clarity of lines. And so you're our family, you're our loved ones, you got to get on board because this is the direction that we're going. And then in this book, Sense of Place, it is, how do we move forward, and what does our relationship look like, and do we get married, and do we have a house, and what does that all look like? And it's about different stages of their relationship, and him coming to terms with, I'm always going to be 22 years older than you, and what is that going to look like, and I don't want to hold you back, and I'm so worried about whether or not I'm going to hurt you if something tragic happens to me, and like, what does that mean for you, you know, Cooper, as a younger person? I don't want to hold you back. And so really sort of navigating that dynamic and figuring that out as well. So again, this whole series is again another 4.75, really well done. Loved romance, takes place in New York, talks about architecture and design, and it's an age gap, and it's so like I said, it's just about love. It's just really truly about two people who fall in love and fighting the odds. And it's not about the component. It's not about overcoming the dynamics, even though Thomas in this book comes out to his people that he had never come out to before, but that's not the focal point. More so the focal point is the age difference and the age gap between them and what that's going to look like. And then also, you know, doing this taboo thing where Cooper is an intern in his office, and so navigating the taboo of you're not supposed to date interns, and so we've got to keep that separate, and you are a rising architect in your own right, and that's separate from what I'm doing as a well-established architect, and you are very gifted, even more gifted than I was at your age, and I want you to establish your own name on your own merit and on your own 2 feet, independent of me, and I don't ever want anybody to question that. And so it was just a beautiful story of two people that were in love. And so if you want low angst, if you just want a love story, if you just want to see them kind of navigate their relationship and figure it out, and each step of the way do it together, this is your jam. And it'll take you just a couple hours to read them. Short and sweet and to the point. I loved it. And they are on audiobook as well. So, you guys, another dark romance recommendation. I think there are a total of 8-9 books, something like that, in this review. And so I hope that you find something there. There's all different types. There's the BDSM, there's the captor-captive, there's the taboo rape fantasy, and then there's just love. There's just love. So it was all great. Everything in this review is all a 4 or better. And so I think that there will be something for everyone. And you guys know that I upload new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Thank you for coming and joining me. Please like and subscribe. Come and hang out with me more. And I plan on uploading some new content soon. So I look forward to seeing you soon.